Hi, welcome to section 8.2 area. Here we're going to do an application of area, meaning we're going to work with a given word problem. So let's take a look at the word problem. It states, John is constructing a rectangular garden house with a perimeter of 40 meters and needs to create a concrete foundation. If the length is 4 meters more than triple the width, what is the area of the concrete foundation? All right, so this is going to be similar to the given perimeter application word problem. So let's break it down step by step and see how we can set it up and start solving for the area of the concrete foundation. So the first thing we do know, it's a rectangular garden house. So rectangular, that means for the perimeter rectangle, it's going to be length plus W plus W, or plus width plus width. Now the other information that we know from the given word problem is the perimeter. Perimeter is 40 meters. All right, so once we identify that and highlight that, next is we're going to start breaking down the next information we have in the given word problem. The next one is length is 4 meters more than triple the width. So again, it's very similar to the 8.1 perimeter application. Also, this ties into section 1.1, translating phrases into algebraic expression. So let's start working this out. Now, when it says length is, and the process applies if this says width is. So length is, we're going to write that as L equal. So again, when it says length is, it's going to be L equal. Now, if this was width is, then it'd be W equal. So again, it's going to be the same process if this says width. Next, we're going to identify the part in this phrase, more than. So when it says more than, that means that we're going to be adding. So repeat, when it says more than, we're going to be adding. Now before I put in the plus sign, we have to follow up with triple the width. Now the reason we follow up is because it's after the phrase more than. So if it's after the phrase more than, so where it says triple the width, we're going to put that first in the equation, meaning after the equal sign. So when it says triple the width, that means 3W after the equal sign. Then we follow up with the more than, which is the plus sign. And then after that, we're going to follow up with the 4 meters, which we're going to put 4. So in the phrase or sentence, length is 4 meters more than triple the width. So we transformed that or translated that as L equal 3W plus 4. So now we have all the necessary information in order to solve for area. So here's all the equation for the perimeter that we know of from the given word problem, and the equation for the length. So let's start using the perimeter equation, the length plus W plus W, as shown right here. So what we're going to do now is we're going to plug in the perimeter, which is the 40 meters, and we're also going to plug in what length is equal to. In this case, 3W plus 4. We're going to plug it into the two lengths, the 2L, and the given equation below. So, as indicated with the arrows that I'm pointing, we plugged in 40 into the perimeter. We plugged in or substitute each length with 3W plus 4. And everything else in purple, that stays the same because we didn't substitute, we didn't change. So, again, I repeat, I substitute P with the perimeter that was given in the word problem. I substitute length that was given and translated from the sentence. Length is 4 meters more than triple the width. So again, I replace or substitute, plugged in each L with the given equation that we had, 3W plus 4. So let me clean up the work, make more space. So now we have 40 equal 3W plus 4 plus 3W plus 4 plus W plus W. So what we're going to do is we're going to combine like terms. So we're going to combine all the W's together, and then we're going to combine all the numbers together. So 3W plus 3W plus W plus W, and then we're going to combine the 4 plus 4 on the right side of the equal sign. So repeat, on the right side of the equal sign. So what we now have is 40 equal 8 W's plus 8. So again, the 8w was from 3w plus 3w plus w plus w, and then the plus 8 is from plus 4 plus 4. So let's start solving for w. What I'm going to do is I'm going to cancel out the plus 8 from the right side of the equal sign. So I'm going to subtract both sides in order to balance the equation. So since I'm subtracting 8 on the right side, I'm going to subtract 8 on the left side of the equal sign. So when I subtract 8 to both sides, on the left side of the equal sign, I'm going to have 32. Remember, 40 minus 8 is 32. And then the 8's on the right side, it cancel out. So I'm going to be left with a w on the right side of the equal sign. Now to solve for w, I'm going to divide by the coefficient in front of w, which is 8. So I'm going to divide both sides by 8. So again, I'm dividing both sides by 8 because that's the coefficient in w. So now on the left side, 32 divided by 8, that's going to be 4. And then 8w divided by 8, the 8 would divide into 1, and I'm just going to be left with w. So 4 is the width, or width is 4. So even if you have the number on the left and the variable on the right, you can flip it, just like what we were used to, where now we have width equals 4. Alright, now once we know our width, we can actually start solving for our length. So let me put the information on the right side here. So w is equal to 4, and length is 3w plus 4. That's the equation that we translate from the phrase that I highlighted here. So what I'm going to do though, since we know that width is 4, we're simply going to plug 4 into w of this equation below, as shown right here. So before we had length equals 3w plus 4. Now here we have length equals 3 times 4 plus 4. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to multiply the 3 to the 4 first. That's going to be 12. And then I bring down the plus 4. Now length is 12 plus 4. I'm going to add that up. So now we're going to have length equal to 16. So we finished solving for width and we finished solving for length. So that's the dimension, but that's not mean we're finished with this word problem. Because remember, in the question it says, what is the area of the concrete foundation? So in order to find the area, you do need to know what is your width and what is your length. Because the area of a rectangle is length times width, or width times length. Order doesn't matter. So I repeat, the area of a rectangle is length times width, or width times length. Again, the order does not matter because you're still going to multiply the numbers either way. So I cleaned up the work and I label width is 4 meters and length is 16 meters. So what we're going to do is we're going to multiply them. So I'm going to multiply as usual. So 16 times 4. Now as I mentioned before, the order doesn't matter, but if we're going to multiply it this way, I usually put the most digit numbers above, and then the less digit below. So I repeat, I'm going to put the most digit numbers above and then the least digit below. So we're going to multiply as normal. I'm going to start with 4 times 6. So 4 times 6 will be 24. So I'm going to bring down the 4 and carry the 2 above the 1. So I repeat, 4 times 6 is 24. I carry down the 4 and then I carry the 2 above the 1. Next, I'm going to do 4 times 1. So 4 times 1 is 4. Then I'm going to add 2 to it, which would be 6. So I'm going to bring down the 6. So now I finished multiplying and my answer is going to be 64. So my area, again we were looking for area, will be 64. Now however, since we're multiplying with units, gotta remember that when we multiply meters with meter, that's going to be meter square. So my area is going to be 64 meters square. Now make sure to keep in count that when you do an area, when you're multiplying the units together, it's going to become meter square. If you were to do this with feet, then when you get the area, it will be feet square. So keep that in mind. Alright, let's take a look at the next example. So in this word problem, it states, Ashley constructed a square table that is 6 feet long. She decided to connect the table to a rectangle table, which is the same width, but the length is 5 feet longer. What is the total area of the two tables? Alright. So let's take a look at the word problem and see what we know from it. So the first thing we do know is the square table. The length of the square table is 6 feet. As I highlighted right here, the length of the square table. So here I label as L sub ST. So ST stands for square table. So LST equals to 6 feet. Because that's what's the information that was given. So the length of the square table is 6 feet. Now, it stated that the length of the rectangle table, which I'm going to highlight, is 5 feet longer. Okay, so the length of the rectangle table, which I label here L R sub RT, so RT stands for rectangle table, is 6 feet because it's the same width, but it's 5 feet longer, as stated right here. So the length of the rectangle is going to be 11 feet. So now we identified the length of the square table and the length of the rectangle table. Now we need to find the width of the rectangle table. And the reason we need that is in order to find the area of the rectangle table, you need to know your length and your width. Now, we don't actually have to do any kind of work to find width. The reason is because, one, we know the length of the square table is 6 feet long. And the reason that's going to help us with width is because in the same word problem, which right here, when she decided to connect the table to a rectangle table, which is the same width, so when it says the same width, that implies that the width of the rectangle table is the same length as the square table. So I repeat, when it says the same width, that means that the width of the rectangle table is the same length, the same measurement as the length of the square table. So that means that the width of the rectangle table is 6 feet, which here I label WRT. So the width of the rectangle table is 6 feet. Now, that's the information we all need for the rectangle table. And if you're having a question on why we only need the length of the square table, now remember, a square table, that means that all the sides are equal. So that means that you don't need anything else. You already have enough information to find the area of a square. So a square, like I said before, has all sides equal. So that means you already know your length, which is also your width. So let's start finding the area of the rectangle table, the square table. So I repeat, we're going to find the area of the square table first. So here I denote it or label A sub ST. So area of the square table is the length times the width. Remember, all sides of the rectangle are the same. So that's why here I wrote equal 6 times 6, because that's the measurement that was given from the word problem. Next, we need to find the area of the rectangle table. So the rectangle, we have our length and we have our width. So we're going to write it as A sub RT. Area of rectangle table is equal to 11 times 6. All right, let me clear up the work, make more space. All right, the area of the square table is 6 times 6, which will equal to 36 feet square. The area of the rectangle table is 11 times 6, which is 66 feet square. Now, we're not going to stop here because the question says, what is the total area of the two tables? So when it says total area of the two tables, that means that we're going to add the area of the square table and the area of the rectangle table together. So the area, or the total area, which here I wrote it as A sub T, which is the total area. We're going to add the area of the square table, which is 36 feet square, and we're going to add it to the area of the rectangle table, which is 60 feet square. So 36 feet square plus 66 feet square. Now here I wrote the unit in my work. You don't have to, but just make sure to remember that you need to have your units in your final answer. So I repeat, you do need to have your unit in your final answer. So we're going to do 36 plus 66. That's going to be 102 feet square. So my final answer for the total area of the two tables will be 102 feet square. So here I boxed in my final answer. And as stated before, make sure to include your units, your proper units. So repeat, your proper units in your final answer. Since we did area, it's going to be feet square. If you put feet, then that's going to give you the wrong answer, and it's going to result in points deducted. So again, you do need to write the proper unit. If it was just length and width, then it would just be feet, or if you were working with meters, it would just be meters. But if you do an area, then if it's feet, it's going to be feet square. If you're working with meters, it would be meters squares. And it's going to be the same process for any other type of unit of measurement.